Hello everyone, Richard here again. In a previous video I reviewed and tested the Sandisk Extreme 128GB card. It was a great card, and I'll put a link for that video up here so that you can watch it if you haven't watched it so far. But in this video what I'm going to do is show you how to format that 128GB card inside Windows 10. I'll show you the options you get with Windows. I'll show you the limitations, a few tricks on how to format it alternatively. Also, I will show you how to format the whole card as a FAT32 card so that you can use it that way if you need to. In the comments section below, if you have questions, comments, or suggestions, I appreciate it greatly if you put them down there. I look at them frequently and answer regularly, so I appreciate that if you do that. Also, in the video description below, I'll put links to all the hardware I used in this video so that you can buy it from the same suppliers that I got it from. So let's first go through the standard formatting options inside Windows. First one would be the file manager. So let's just open up your file folder down here. Go to your drives, and then you can see a listing of drives: C drive, E drive, F drive. And again, I want to put a really strong emphasis on this. Be absolutely sure that the drive you're formatting is the correct drive. Now there's ways to figure that out. I'll show you that here in a second, okay? We're dealing with a 128 gig Sandisk drive. Of course, I labeled this drive Sandisk 128G, so it's pretty easy to tell which one it is, right? But you know, it may just say USB drive or SD card or whatever. It may not say, or new volume, or what, you know, whatever default the last person put on it. So the best way to find out is just right click the drive, right? Go to properties, and then it'll tell you, right? It'll say, hey, you know, it's an SDXC, it's a removable drive, it's currently formatted with exFAT, and it is 127 gigs in size, as you can see here, okay? So that way we know we're dealing with that drive. And you know, the difference is this one here, USB drive. What does that mean, right? I don't know. Let's right click it, choose properties, and you see that it's a USB FAT32 drive, okay? Actually, it's not, all right? It is actually, in this case, it actually is an SD card, but it is in a external SD card reader, so this thing thinks it's a USB drive. So again, you need to know what you're dealing with here, and it says 15 gigs, right? Free and 32 in size. So this is a 32 gig drive. I put it in here for that emphasis, to show you that you need to be real careful what you're formatting, okay? So right click the drive that you want to format. This case is the 128 gig Sandisk Extreme 128 gig micro SD. You go over here to right click it, go to format, and you have all these options. You have no real choice but to format the whole drive here. And you have a choice of NTFS or exFAT. Go with the defaults. exFAT is the most compatible for your cameras and other devices. They're looking for that file format in a card of this size, okay? So leave that alone. Same with the allocation. You know, and if you're not sure whether these are right or not, just hit restore device, and you know, and it'll just do it automatically like it did there, right? Default allocation size. Just go with all the defaults. And quick format or not, sorry, let's go back to volume. You can call it whatever you want. I called it Sandisk 128 gig because that, or G, because that helps me. You can't go any bigger than that in the label, but that's, you know, makes sense. So, quick format is for SD cards and solid state devices. Quick format is just fine. A lot of people say, oh, I got to do a full format so it wipes it out. Now, they recommend, most places I read, even the SD card org recommends not doing that because it puts wear on the card that it doesn't need to have put on it, number one, and it doesn't do any real difference to the card as far as speed and so on. I don't know. I can't really, you know, tell you whether it's true or not, but it certainly is fast, so let's do that. And okay, so warning, format will erase all data on the disk. Format the disk, okay? So yeah, again, make sure you're doing the right one. Click the button, and that's it. The format is complete, right? Again, you only get exFAT or NTFS. You don't get FAT32. I will show you how to format this drive full FAT32 in a second. And actually, the process I show you how to format this in FAT32 would be the same for any drive, okay? Same with formatting here. So I'm just going to close this off, show you another thing. So this is a 32 gig drive. We know this already, but let's just go to properties. You can see there it says 32 gigs, right? And if you go back here, back to it, we're going to go format it, okay? And hit format. Now Windows, for some reason, has locked these file systems in. I don't know why, but they have. So that you can only do certain things in certain types of formats or certain sizes, okay? So as a FAT32, as a 32 gig drive, it allows you to do FAT32, NTFS, and exFAT. So you have a choice of all three. If you go over 32 gigs in size on the drive, you don't have that choice anymore. It goes away, all right? So I'm not going to format it here, but you see that you have the option because it's FAT32, okay? So I'm going to close this off. Now, there is one more way to format, and I'm going to right-click here. Right-click your Windows icon here at the bottom, and go to Disk Management, okay? So we're going to go there, and under Disk Management, you see all your disks. It's kind of neat. It's well laid out, and it makes sense. So let's see what we got here. There. And you can see that I have a removable 127 gig, right, the Sandisk, and the 32 gig FAT32, as well as my other C drive, okay? Well, we're not going to mess with that. And it says C on it right here, so don't mess with that. So we got E and F that we can deal with. And you can format here if you wish. So right-click it, and you say, okay, format, and you can format it, right? So I hit format, and it gives you all the same options as before, right? Nice thing here is that when you reformat, you can actually change the size here. So I'm not going to do that here. I'll show you how to do that, okay? So in order to change the size of the format, you'd have to right-click it, delete the volume, create a new one, right? And change the size. I'm not going to do that. That's beyond the scope of the video. I may make a video on how to handle this tool in the future and go from there. I will show you it on the 128 gig, okay, because it's interesting. So let's right-click it and then choose format. All right, so you get the choice to exFAT or NTFS, right? Because, and everything is the default. You can hit OK here and do it. Let's go. Again, it tells you the warning, I'm going to erase all your data. And it just happens. There's not, a lot of fanfare here. It's done, right? But watch this. I'm going to delete it. Delete the volume. Now, again, remember, make sure you're deleting the right volumes and you're formatting the right volumes, okay? So I'll show you this quickly. I'm going to delete the volume, and now the whole thing is unallocated. It's an empty drive. There's nothing there. If you went to your file manager and you try to go to it, it doesn't even see it anymore, okay? So I'll cancel that. Minimize this. So we've got nothing here. So right-click it again and choose Simple Volume. You can Next. Okay. Now, this is the full size of the drive that it defaults to right off the bat. But watch this. If you go 32,000, which is 32 gigabytes, and go Next, and then, okay, it's going to assign the letter G to it. Fine. I mean, you can choose others, but I'll choose G. No problem. Some reason I've lost E, but G will do. We'll go Next. So now you have the option to format, and it's giving you NTFS right off the bat. But look at this, FAT32, right? Hey, because the drive is 32 gigs and smaller, Windows gives you the option to actually format it FAT32. Now that's one workaround, but it really not a great one because you only have a 32 gig drive when you have a 128 gig drive. Now you could continue to make 32 gig drives that are FAT32, but what would the point of that be? I mean, it was just, you just have like what, 4 drives? There's no point. But let's just go and do this, finish it up, and hit finish. So see here, it's going to do one volume, 32 gigs. So there you go, 32 gigs, and there's 87 gigs left to do whatever you want with. You could keep going, do more FAT32 drives, but there it is, it's FAT32, but only 32 gigs. So there, okay, so there we go. Now, if you right-click it and hit Properties, it says it's FAT32 and it says it's 32 gigs. So you're only seeing 32 gigs of a 128 gig drive. All right, kind of sucks. So yeah, you're really limited with these tools from Windows because they don't want you to. They basically don't want you to format large drive with anything but exFAT or NTFS. So there's how you do it with the file or the disk manager. One of my favorite ways or great tools, and I didn't even think it was going to be, is this SD card formatter. I got this from sdcard.org. I'll show you that here. So just Google SD card formatter, and then you'll see all these links down here. And where you want to go to is to the SD card formatter download. And this is the licensing agreement. Just scroll to the bottom, hit accept, and then you save the program. Okay, I'll do that. Let's put it in downloads, my usual place. Yeah, fine. It's already there, so I'm not going to go through the process. So no, it's a zip file, so you have to unzip it. So let's go do that. Let's pretend that I did download it for the sake of brevity here. So cancel. So just hit accept, and it'll give you that download. And again, I'll put links for all this stuff in the video description below. So let's go to the download directory, and let's look at SD card, that zip file from them, which is right here, SD card formatter. So it's a zip file. You have to extract the file. Right-click it. Oops. Right-click it and choose Extract All. And it'll default to making the directory in the directory you're in. So I'm going to hit OK, Extract, and then it's going to say, I've already done this, so let's just do it again. What the heck? There it is. It's a really small file. Then it opens up the folder. Double-click the folder, and there it is, the SD card formatter setup. Double-click it. And it's a safe file. You don't have to worry about it. This is from sdcard.org. They're the people who set up the specifications for SD cards. Okay, so you're quite safe. So go through the shield, install it. I'm not going to do that. Just use all the defaults and off you go. Okay. In the end, what you'll end up with, I'll hit finish here, is this really nice tool called SD card formatter on your desktop. So double click that and click yes. Now, here's the thing. You know, you can go back into your disk manager and then erase the drive, do it all over again, and you know, turn this drive from a 32 gig drive back to a 128 gig drive. Real pain in the butt. And even if you go here to format, it's only going to format at 31 gigs because that's the size of the partition, right? So I'm going to hit cancel on this and show you this tool. Reason I'm showing you this tool is because it's really handy. It wipes the drive. This is a great tool for fixing messed up drives, not just SD cards, but messed up drives. And I'll show you that in a second. So here, USB drive, and that's the one we want to do. Not no, wait a second. No, that's not what I want to do. See, hey, you got to be careful. We want to do new volume, G, right? Got to be careful. So we're going to do G, new volume, right? Careful. And I'm going to hit format. Watch what happens. Again, I'm doing all the defaults with quick format. Okay. Notice this. Capacity, 119 gigabytes, right? Okay. So it took it and changed it, just like that. It just wipes the drive out and then formats it full size every time. So be careful with this. When you're formatting with that tool too, be aware. It's going to wipe the drive out and create a full drive. So here we go, properties. You can see now it's a 127 gig drive in exFAT. All right, it doesn't get you a FAT32 drive, but it wipes everything on the drive and it resets it to basically day one. So it's a great tool to have. I wanted to show you guys that option for formatting. Okay, and the last option I'm going to show you for formatting is Gui Format. And that'll give you a FAT32 format tool that will wipe this whole drive and make it all FAT32 inside Windows. Okay, so here I'm just going to this, close this out. Wanted to show you this tool because it's awesome. Another nice thing about this tool, which I sort of hit on here, was that if you got a messed up drive, it will wipe the drive. What I mean by a messed up drive, like here, I'll show you one. Let me pull this out. Okay, I'm going to push. Okay, there we go. Watch what happens. Okay, put it in. We go look at. Now what this is a copy of my. See what happens? this is a USB thumb drive that has a copy of my Raspberry Pi 3B+. And look what happens. Because it doesn't recognize the file formats on that drive, it says, oh, you want to format it? It's going to, Windows just freaks out. So I'm going to hit cancel here. And you can see it over here that I have a boot H, recovery E, USB I. All these are on here. They weren't before. And I only plugged one drive in. Okay, so what we're dealing with is a partition drive that's pretending to be 3 drives. And basically, it's like, what do I do with this, right? So if you wanted to wipe this out using the SD card formatter, this is, you use this, it's awesome. Watch what happens. So I have 3 drives, and, Windows is saying, oh, format it, do this, do that. Or I can go here to SD card formatter, choose the drive, which is H. H would be the root drive, boot, it would be it. So I'm going to choose H, and I'm just going to say format. Watch what happens. Yeah. Format, we're cleaning all the data on this. Okay. Notice now I only have one boot E, well, 2, but let's see what happens when I just go back in here. There we go. Boot E. I don't know why it puts it in twice, but who cares? It's the same drive. Either way, you can go properties, FAT32, 8 gig drive. Now it's just one. So yeah, I would say this is a great tool to have on your computer. By the way, it does more than, it'll format anything. So if it's a C drive you want to format, or a D drive, or an F drive, or a thumb drive, or whatever, it just formatted a thumb drive. You saw that. And that's this thing here I just formatted. And nice tool for cleaning things up, like let's say a Raspberry Pi SD card that you're putting in that's got 5 partitions on it. This will wipe it out. This tool here will wipe it out in one shot, right? And it is wiping it out SDXC, so it's going to be the exFAT drive type on anything over 32 gigs if you choose it. All right, so let's go to the last tool. Now, I've been talking about FAT32, and maybe some people don't know what that is. What FAT32 is, an older DOS file system that's probably the most compatible file system in the world. It basically, everything reads it. Anything you put a FAT32 formatted drive into usually can see it, okay? So why is that important? Well, let's say you're going to make a Raspberry Pi boot or installation disk. It needs to be FAT32. It can't be exFAT. It won't work. So you need to format it FAT32. Well, if you have a 128 gig drive, micro SD card, you're going to end up with a exFAT format here in Windows. So again, you want to get around that. So that's one reason, something like a Raspberry Pi. PS3s, say you want to format a drive for a PS3, it needs to be FAT32. Right? And if it's bigger than 32 gigs, again, you run into that problem. How do I format it to FAT32, a 1 terabyte drive or a 512 gig drive? Again, same problem. So what we're going to do is go get a tool that will fix that. It's called Gui Format, GUI FORMAT. So just put that into a search in Google, Gui Format, and it'll be the first thing that comes up, Rich Court Demon Co. And I'll put a link for that in the video description below. Let's go get it. And the download link is actually the picture. So just click on that picture and it'll download it. Nice thing about this is it doesn't install. It's an executable. It runs on its own. So I'm just going to hit save on this. All right. I already downloaded it, so just to save us the download time, but it's very small. Here, let's do it. Already exists. Yeah. And it's already downloaded. It's a very, very small file. So okay, now we got the Gui Format tool, and we'll go take a look at that. So under Downloads, and Gui Format is right there. You put it wherever you want. Double click it. Of course, yes. And then we get the Gui Format tool. Looks very similar to the SD card formatter, right? But difference being that it will format any drive as FAT32. Okay, so here it's saying, 127 gig exFAT USB drive. Let's do it. Start. Okay. Failed to open. Okay. Let me pull it out. All right. And then do that again. And this is, I'm glad it did this. I'm glad it did this because I can show you a few little tricks because of this. You know, I've seen this happen before. Now, it may or may not work by pulling it out and putting it back in. Let's see what happens. Really, you want to, yes, I want to format the drive. Oh, look at that. Okay, here's what you do when you have this. This is another reason why I showed you the SD card formatter. Watch what happens, right? Let's use the SD card formatter to format it first. It wipes anything on it out, right? So we're going to go to the USB drive. Well, it's what it's calling it, but you can see here SDXC. That means it's an XDSC card, and the capacity is 128. So we know we're the right drive. Let's just call it Sandisk. There you go. And G, that's as big as it can go. Format, yes. Okay, successfully completed. Again, when the SD card formatter wipes a drive, it wipes a drive. So let's go back to Gui Format. Again, let's see what happens. Boy, I'm glad that happened. It's here. You really want to format E? Yes, it's the 128 gig. And look at that. Okay, so you see why you want this tool, the SD card formatter, because it wipes a drive totally. So not only will it wipe a regular SD card, it'll wipe any drive. So any drive you choose to format with that will be singled out, one drive, see you later. So it fixed the problem that the Windows had with that drive by reformatting and cleaning it. And then now Gui Format has just formatted a whole drive as a FAT32 drive. And you can see that here in the actual breakdown, right, that it did that. But here's another way. Well, let's just go back to, let's close this off. Back to the file manager. And down to the drive, right click it, choose properties, FAT32, 128 gigs. Right? So that's how you do the FAT32 formatting in Windows. Those are, I believe, mostly every option you could have for formatting a drive in Windows. Make sure, I would say everybody should have that SD card formatter because it's really powerful. Just make sure you're formatting the right drive. Always, 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 always. Remember that. You got to be formatting the right drive. Now, one more caveat about FAT32. If you're going to be using FAT32, you need to understand actually two limitations, but usually just one. And that is that FAT32 cannot store a file larger than 4 gigabytes. So actually with large file support, okay? If whatever you're using does not have large file support, it won't be able to store a file larger than 2 gigabytes. So there's a 2 gigabyte limit in one case and a 4 gigabyte limit in the other case. So what happens is, say you're using, you're filming with video. When you get to 2 or 4 gigs, depending on your device, if it has the right support, and you're using FAT32, 2 or 4, it will split the file into the next file, or it will stop, one of the two. I don't know which one your device will do if it's using FAT32, but no matter what device you're recording with, if it's a FAT32 drive, it will either stop at 2 gigs or at 4 gigs and create a new file and continue on. And so you're going to have 4 gig files all the way through your drive, okay? So understand that when you're using FAT32, especially when you're filming, you're going to have a bunch of files if you have a long sequence or a long filming period. So, you know, that's one of the limitations of the FAT32 file size. I've been told that there's like a 4 terabyte or 8 terabyte limit on it. And so I went and researched that. And if you look at the file allocation here under FAT32 on the wiki page, I don't think there is a 2 terabyte because this is a 2 tebibyte limit, it says. That's like way more than a terabyte, okay? So, but it does state here, the 2 gigabyte limit and the 4 gigabyte limit depending, right? Without LFS, large file support, and with large file support. So that's my little tutorial today on formatting the Sandisk 128 gig micro SD extreme memory card. And that's a great card. I love it. So let's just wrap this up and call it a day. That's it for my video on formatting the Sandisk Extreme 128 gigabyte micro SD card inside Windows. If you like this video and it helped you out in some way, do me a huge favor. Click on the like button in the bottom corner over here and give me a big thumbs up. That helps my channel, it helps my video, and I greatly appreciate it. Also, utilize the comment section below if you have questions, suggestions, or anything you want to say to me. I look at them regularly and answer them frequently. Up here in the top corner, you'll see a picture of me. That is a subscription link. If you click on that picture, you'll be subscribed to my channel, and as part of the process of doing that, you'll get a bell icon. Click on the bell icon, that's the notification icon, and when you click on that, every time I put up a new video, you'll be notified that I've put one up, and then you can watch it at your own leisure. Once again, and just like always, I want to thank you for your time and for watching.